Now, we have a couple player props for this game. We're starting out with Stetson Bennett. His over-under pass yards prop bet at DRF Sportsbook is set at 275 and a half pass yards. DRF Sportsbook has all the player props, player passing, rushing, receiving, intercept, everything you can imagine player prop wise is over at DRF Sportsbook. And you want to get in on this action. One of the only books around the area with this extensive player prop options for not only this game, but all college football games and college basketball games. So you want to get in on the action. Here with Stetson Bennett, we're getting in on the action with the under 270 and a half pass yards. Look, I know he's coming off of a game where he nearly put up 400 passing yards, and there was another game where he put up 274. But over the last 5 games, if we're looking at this exact number, Stetson Bennett has only gone over that number twice in the last 5 games. TCU's defense also doesn't necessarily allow you to sling it all over. This season, they only allow 243 pass yards per game, 7 yards per attempt. So if Stetson Bennett wants to get over that number, and we're going off of season averages, he'd have to throw 40 pass attempts to get over to, or actually to hit 275 pass yards. So do I expect him to have that many passing attempts? No, because I think there will be a large portion of this game where Georgia is playing with the lead and won't have to rely on Stetson Bennett. Also, if you listened to Kirby Smart after the game last time, and if you've listened to him throughout the entire Stetson Bennett era, he doesn't want this game to be put in Stetson Bennett's hands 40 times. Stetson Bennett will want to be, Kirby Smart, Stetson Bennett both know this game is won with Bennett throwing around 25 to 30 pass attempts, not 40. So I think that's going to come into it, and this number is highly inflated, so you got to get it when it's high. Hit the under. He's thrown for about 672 pass yards in his last 2 games combined, but that's heavily inflated off of last game, and I think that's factoring into this number here. I'm going under 275 and a half pass yards for Stetson Bennett. Moving on from Stetson, we're going to Quentin Johnson, the stud wide receiver for TCU. His over-under is set at 82 and a half receiving yards. And folks, I love the over. What we talked about in the pregame and breaking down the just general game markets, Georgia's weakness is the secondary, right? And TCU's strength is passing the ball. And Quentin Johnson has been balling out as of late. He had 163 yards against Michigan on 6 catches. He had 138 yards against Kansas State on 4 catches. However, though, this is the issue where it takes me a little bit of a second step back, and I'm kind of questioning this one. He's only gone over 77 receiving yards those 2 times in his last 5 games. So he's kind of a boom or bust type of player. So am I betting on the boom? 100% I am. He averages under 82 and a half receiving yards on the season, averages but he averages 76 receiving yards, but he should have opportunities. Star running back Miller is questionable to play. Last I heard, he was a 50-50 game time decision on whether he was going to play, as I believe he has a sprained MCL. So if Miller can't go, Quentin Johnson is going to get even more looks. Johnson tore up the Michigan secondary, tore up the Kansas State secondary. I think he'll continue that against a weaker Georgia secondary here in the national championship. Give me over 82 and a half receiving yards for Quentin Johnson. And last but certainly not least, a fun quarterback rushing prop. Over under 28 and a half rush yards for Max Duggan. Look, I'm all over the over here. Give me Max Duggan over 28 and a half rush yards with complete ease. Out of the 3 player props, this is the one I'm most confident in. He had 57 last game. He had 110 in the Big 12 championship. 167 rush yards over his last 2 games is big time. Not only that, he averages 40 rush yards per game this season. And you're telling me I can get that at nearly half the amount for what it is? Give me his over 28 and a half rush yards. And then not only just the statistics of it all, we know Georgia's front 7 is lethal. They're the best team in the nation at stopping the run. So that tells me Max Duggan is going to get the ball in his hands quite a bit. I also think Georgia may blitz a little bit. They may play a little bit of man. And if they're going to do that, and force Max Duggan off his spot, force him out of the pocket, especially if they're playing man coverage, Max Duggan's going to have some opportunities, some lanes to run. Think he racks up the rush yards, and over 28.5 rush yards is the easiest play of the game for Max Duggan of all of these player props. So thank you so much for tuning in to the DRF Sportsbook Betting Breakdown National Championship Edition. Game is tonight. Kicks at 6:30 p.m. Central. You do not want to miss it. TCU plus 13 is the play. Under 63.5, 63 point total is the play. And we're going under Stetson Bennett pass yards, over Quentin Johnson receiving yards, and over Max Duggan rush yards. Have a profitable national championship. We'll be back later this week with a playoff preview with two special guests. Can't wait to see you guys there. Subscribe and don't miss a single expert instant.